Hydrator, it is Saturday the 13th of June 2026. Soirées. You've been to several formal events over the past few weeks. The first of which was on May 5th, where you went to visit your friend Cameron in Keble College, Oxford for a formal dinner. Then the following day, you went to a garden party in Buckingham Palace. Invited as a +1 for your mother, and she got it for her services as a civil servant. There were 8,000 people there for various honours and services to the UK, and most importantly, my mum got to meet both the King and Queen, which she was ecstatic about. I had met the King previously while he was still a prince 11 years prior in Peterhouse, Cambridge. Speaking of which, on May 23rd, you went back to Peterhouse for your MA graduation on the hottest day of the year. For some ridiculous reason, Oxbridge upgrades your bachelor's BA, which is independent of your subjects. I study maths and have an arts degree. It gets upgraded 7 years after your matriculation to a master's of arts. The only thing it actually gives you is dining rights in the college. You finally sit on high table, which I will be doing this Tuesday. But it was fun just to go back, go punting, have some food and drink too much wine. 4 days prior to that, on May 19th, I actually had my PhD graduation from UCL at Royal Festival Hall, wearing again this ridiculous outfit, these ridiculous robes, but secretly I love all these traditions and silly things that academia has. And the final major event on June 1st was your childhood school friends Sham and Linda's wedding. A great wedding by all accounts, and I was honoured to be the best man giving a speech, which I of course memorised, a little bit of roasting, but predominantly reminiscing our 20 years of friendship. Sham's Stag in Brussels, which I organised, was a few weeks prior to that, and that video is already up. Moving on to spectacles now, I've seen a bunch of plays, the first of which was Back to the Future, which was amazing. I must have seen the trilogy dozens of times as a kid, and this was a good adaptation. The second one was the Yes Minister sequel play, which was really not that good, much worse than the series it's based on from the 80s, which is much funnier and has much better political commentary. And finally, you saw A Midsummer's Night Dream at Shakespeare's Globe, the original site, although it was burnt and rebuilt, which was really fun and really good value for money, only £10 for the standing seats. You also went to the Pokemon Natural History Museum exhibition, which was funny to call an exhibition since the shop was larger than the actual exhibition, but you got this nice tote bag and exclusive Pikachu Natural History Museum card. So overall worth it, was free after all. Then a bunch of superhero shows have been out. I've got a comment on that. So Spider Noir I finished this week. It has this cool 1930s noir black and white atmosphere. Would recommend it as a decent watch. Season 5 of Daredevil finished too. That has a modern New York City atmosphere. It's nowhere near as good as the original Netflix first 3 seasons. Rehashes a lot of those ideas, but it's a decent watch. Invincible Season 4 was again okay. Just the power scaling, I find it difficult to follow the story because of the discrepancies there. And then Season 5, the final season of The Boys, it was just so bad. It was as if they knew where they wanted the characters to end, then made no attempt to actually write a coherent way for them to get there. Just there's so much potential in the show. If you're ever going to watch it, just watch the first 3 seasons and then skip to the final episode. On the sporting side, Arsenal won the Premier League, finally. Although they lost the Champions League with some awful penalties in the penalty shootout. It's the World Cup now though, so fingers crossed England does well. On the tennis side, last week Zverev won the French Open, unfortunately. But Alcaraz is injured and Sinner had heat stroke. I'm going to see the Wimbledon qualifiers in just over a week and hopefully actually see Wimbledon if I can be bothered to queue up early enough. On my actual tennis performance, it's taken a nosedive, unfortunately. It's the spring-summer season with the Interclub tournament. My first match was a men's doubles. We lost the first set 4-6. won the second set with a bagel, that's 6-love. And then in the tiebreak, I made this amazing diving forehand shot, similar to that of Boomerang Snake in The Prince of Tennis. We even won that point, but lost the tiebreak 6-10. A few days after that, my arm was just radiating with pain. I thought my tennis elbow was under control, but I've forfeited my other matches and taken a month off. It's just not worth not having a good arm for the rest of my life. So I'm going to go through some rehab, and my way of thinking is that if Alcaraz, who's arguably the best player in the world, can take a few months off, so can I. And I'm not going to make the same mistake as I did with my knee. And speaking of which, the day after that match, in fact, I did a park run. My fastest ever park run in 24 minutes since the surgery, I mean. And I couldn't really run for a few days after that. It was a little bit painful, so I've just got to be careful and listen to my body. Alright, Suitors. I bought Hinge X for 6 months for £60 in India, half the price of the UK. And it is somewhat working. I'm getting 10-ish matches a week versus the 3-ish I was getting before. Although the confounding factor here is, of course, I now have short hair, which the majority of people seem to prefer. That's from real life interactions, although I don't once regretting having long hair for those 5 years. Out of all these matches and meeting women in person, I've been on 10 first dates. 5 of them have translated to second dates, and 2 translated to third, 4th, 5th dates, although none went to the 6th date, but we've just got to continue grinding. A quick outro, my PhD has actually been used in a real surgery. That's personally great. It's very rare for PhDs to actually go anywhere. And then more generally, it was the first ever time AI assistance has been used in neurosurgery. It's an amazing feat, and it's a very small study so far. It's just a pilot, but hopefully it leads to something. It's just very exciting. And then vlogging wise, as you can probably tell, I finally got through my entire back catalogue of footage, including my most recent Asia trip, which is coming out next month. And I'm hoping I can start working on some other style of videos, not just these updates and travel ones like I used to do back in the day. We'll see how much time I get. Although the video after the Asia travel video is likely to be an update video, I've got some amazing events coming up. For example, tonight is the Good Enough Summer Ball, the reason why I'm wearing black tie in the first place. And this black tie suit is the same one I wore 13 years ago in a previous vlog. I've got some amazing events, as I said and hinted at throughout this video. You'll just have to see it in the near future. Adrita.